Hello and welcome to Take 5.
Hello.
We are in the Thursday before Easter weekend.
We are.
And we are taking a little break now from our look into the theme of love from 1 Corinthians 13. Jake will come back to it next week. But what we are going to do as we are coming to Easter is think a little bit on the Easter theme. And in order to do that, we've taken some chapters from John's Gospel. And today we're going to look at chapter 18 from John's Gospel. So this is effectively the last few moments of Jesus' life. He's shared the Passover feast with the disciples after coming into Jerusalem. And in this chapter we see and read about Jesus getting arrested. We find out about Peter's denial of Jesus. And then we see Jesus on trial before the Jewish authorities, and then subsequently on trial, as it were, before Pilate.
Yes.
So it's not easy reading as we go through, but I would encourage you to read the whole chapter for yourself and to let the Holy Spirit speak to you. But we want to focus in on a couple of things today.
Yes. Well, what I love about John's version is that he gives us a little extra details, sort of slightly a greater insight into what was happening, and I'm particularly thinking about Peter's denial and what he was going through at that time. So in Matthew 16, Jesus predicts his death, and in verse 22, Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. "Never, Lord," he said, "this shall never happen to you." And then, as we know, a little bit earlier on in John 13, not so very many chapters ago, Jesus tells Peter that he will, before the cock crows, he will deny him 3 times. And Peter, none of them, they just don't understand that Jesus can die. They just can't accept that. And then Peter finds himself in this incredible position whereby Jesus is arrested, and then he follows him to the high priest and John, who clearly knows the high priest fairly well, because he's the only one who mentions the actual name of the servant whose ears cut off. So he must, he knows them. He has that ability to get into the courtyard. Peter has to wait outside. John has to help him in, and now immediately he comes in, they start questioning him.
Yep.
Are you one of his disciples? Were you with him? And it must have been incredible what Peter was going through.
The emotion of it.
Blind panic, terror, fear, confusion.
Yeah, all of those.
He just must be. And everything that Jesus said to him before about, I'm going to die and rise again in 3 days, forgotten the panic.
They didn't get it, did they?
They didn't, no.
Way back, middle of Matthew's Gospel, in the middle of Mark's Gospel, Jesus starts telling them on the 3rd day, the Son of Man must be beaten and flogged, and then on the 3rd day arise again. They haven't got that message. Yeah. They've not twigged.
But I just think the emotions that Peter must have been going through, and he's put himself in a really dangerous place here, because he has to see what is happening to Jesus.
Yes. He's
made himself very vulnerable, and he must have been really terrified that he was going to be the next one to be arrested.
That's right. You can see what they're doing to Jesus.
So I just thought this particular passage really, really emphasises and highlights what Peter must have been going through, and that just made me think about how fortunate we are in that we can talk about Jesus freely. We can go to church. We don't have to worry about looking over our shoulders or any fear of anybody hurting us. The worst that's going to happen is somebody might laugh, and that's not going to hurt us. So that really got me thinking about the freedoms that we enjoy. And in our walk with Jesus, we don't have any of those problems. And that in turn reminded me of all the countries across the world where that's not the same. Where being a Christian and standing up for your faith is an extremely dangerous thing to do. Like Peter in this situation, he was in a really dangerous spot. Yeah. And our brothers and sisters in all those other countries, Nigeria, Iran, Somalia, the list goes on. So I was just thinking this Easter, maybe it would be a good thing if we to pray for our brothers and sisters who just don't enjoy the same freedoms that we do.
Yeah, so as we finish now, just take a moment as the video finishes to pray for our brothers and sisters across the world who are not free to share their faith, or are imprisoned for their faith, who are dying for their faith. And take some time to pray for them. Pray for them today. Have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow.